Hello, hello. It's March 14th, 2023. It's a SIG Node weekly meeting. Welcome, everybody. I want to start this meeting with announcements that code freeze is tomorrow for 127. If you want your PR to be in 127, please work on it and make sure you have somebody who will review and approve it.
It's today at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Oh, today? I thought it's Wednesday. Okay.
Nope, today.
Thank you, Mark. You know better because you're a release manager, but yeah, thank you. Okay, it changes things for me a little bit, but anyway. Okay, today code free. So if you haven't merged today and your bug or fix is not critical enough, it's out. So we have 200 PRs and we did amazing job merging things. Thank you for all approvers who looked at numerous PRs. Thank you of all reviewers who prepared these PRs for being approved. I wanted to just remind that there is still 41 PR, which with LGTM label, but without approved label. So if you want to, so just a reminder for approvers that there's still something to approve. It doesn't mean that all of them are critical. I think some judgments needs to be applied, but there is still a queue of unapproved PRs that may need to be looked at. I also wanted to look at issues. First, start with critical urgent issues for this. Like typically, priority critical urgent is for something that we have to fix in this release. So this we have three. One of them is separate the topic for a little bit later in agenda. I will leave it for now. Then second one is we have some failing tests. It's very old issue, so I think it survived already one release in this priority critical urgent, so we need to understand if it's still an urgent issue. And last one is yeah, from Clayton, static pod. So it's also very old issue and marked as critical urgent.
Are you talking about the 116262?
No, now I'm talking about this. Kubel doesn't restart static pod when API server is down.
Okay.
I have it on my screen.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong screen.
Yeah. So this issue survived at least few releases and still marked as critical urgent. I don't know if Clayton is on the call right now.
This could be related to the issue I filed this morning. So I'll take a closer look. The short summary is that when you try and update the manifest of a static pod, in this example, you update the image, it doesn't propagate. I know where the problem is. I don't want to make that fix so close to code freeze. It's dangerous. You got to switch mirror pod and pod around. I wouldn't risk it.
Vinny, can you send the bug you just found?
Let me just paste it in the chat.
Okay, so we need to clean up critical urgent. Yeah, given like we have CI group meeting, and on CI group meeting, a couple of weeks we've been cleaning up important soon issues. So there were plenty important soon. We can take a look at those. We still have a lot. We just cleaned up many of them. We have 40 marked as important soon. Some of them are for caps that were targeting this release. So this is expected to have them, but some of them are long-standing, like stale issues that may need to be removed from this milestone. So if you have time to review those, please do. We need to make sure that we only have something marked as important soon if it's really important soon. Otherwise, it just defeats the purpose. Okay. And yeah, Vinay, do you want to talk about bug you posted in the chat, or you want to go to the next item in agenda?
I'll just briefly mention what's going on at 116262. I think the we found another null pointer access, and I fixed that. However, I'm not able to verify it because I don't have the repro environment that Clayton has, or what's there in internal GKE with the single kubelet. I tried different things hacking around, can't get to that. But there is a defensive fix, which probably is even the right fix at this point, given that we don't process updates for static pod manifests. So what we do is, if it's a static pod, we skip calling the two functions, compute resize and do resize in the compute pod updates. So that fix, the more I look at it, it seems right given the bug I just posted. Because if we're not handling updates for images, why should we, not skip over static pods? Why do we even want to call that function? Now, Clayton has some objections with, I think he has some concerns rather, with whether it affects the existing static pod image update. I think he's referring to, you make an update to the manifest file and then save it, and that should trigger a new pod. I'll verify that it's triggering a pod delete add in both the cases where this feature gate is enabled and disabled. That should, I believe, address it for this, but we can discuss that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a regression, right? So it's not a new behavior.
The null pointer is a regression, but once it's fixed, it should work the same way as it has been working for now. This particular bug which we are looking at has been there in 126 master, 126 release. So this is not anything I added here is not a regression.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think something that is not regression should be fixed that urgently.
Yeah, I might have to go ask for an exception to give people more time to review this critical. Probably gonna raise a few days exception for this. And Tim, I think one thing that's not here is there is another PR that's outstanding for Tim to look at. Let me just post it in the chat as well. Please add it to the doc. There are so many things going on. I'm just trying to knock one things out. Look at this one. 116. I thought of 1 week after this code freeze, after the merge, I'd be drinking beer, but I'm doing this. All right. So this particular one is Tim asked for a follow-up changes to. We want to rename the variables for resize policy. This is not a risky change. I think it can go in. It's just, I don't think it's just the bandwidth. Tim has suggested some things. I made those changes. It's been sitting for a few days, and I wonder if we can get Tim's bandwidth on this one.
Do we want this one in the 1.27?
I would prefer.
It's a rename for API fields.
Yeah,
for
I
Alvin.
would prefer it. I would strongly prefer it. I don't know how this will go if we were to do it after those proto buff stuff was all published, and you have to deal with that.
If he has this kind of the renaming request, why at the first place approve the original implementation? This is rather like there's the discussing to revoke the original implementation. Of course I don't prefer to do so, but this is make the orders add complexity to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have this issue with null pointer, right?
That's the one which I think we want to merge for sure. Yeah. Because it does fix the issue. Without this,
is that the state manager PR though? Because I approved that this
yeah,
morning.
thank you for that. I think I saw you approve that, and that looks like it's getting merged. I haven't checked, but I presume it will.
Yeah, for the API one, I know that we need, I can't single-handedly approve that one. I know it was Tim's desires to change, so if we can chase Tim down, that'd be great.
Yeah, I just pinged him on Twitter, so hopefully he'll take a look at it. And I pinged him around the time when he walks his dog, so that's a good time to do it. And be in a good mood, right? Okay.
So say it again. So we have this null pointer, right? Which in standalone mode, then there's still an issue.
This, I think, this
I merged
is
that. I approved that this morning. Sergey.
Yeah.
Is it this one?
Not this
no, there was
one.
another one which was state manager no up. I thought
That was a small.
Oh,
That was a small
is,
follow-up.
yeah, it's very
Yeah,
straightforward.
it's a very innocuous change. It's a small. So that was just in case you try to access the state manager outside of the feature gate protection, then you will hit null pointer to avoid that. That's more of a defensive, create a no-op state manager to begin with, and you'll never, even if you.
If there was another panic I missed, did that get on the board, or I guess it's in on the stock.
So.
Is there another null pointer?
This one we're looking at. Yes, this is the one.
Okay.
So it panics further down the road when, for some reason, the issue with this is that even though the fix looks like it should fix it, I don't have a repro, and there is no. I tried different manifests, and I think the root cause of this is really not known. For whatever reason, for static pod, the compute resize action decided that this pod needs to resize. And we really need to get that particular set of manifest that's going on in there. And the fix that I made here is, initially it looked like a defensive fix where I don't even invoke compute pod resize, do pod resize for static pods. But in light of this bug I just created, it looks more like the right fix, because if you're not going to process updates like an image update from the manifest, why would you want to unnecessarily call compute pod resize to pod resize at all?
Is this no pointer happening when the feature gate is on or when the feature gate's off?
This is happening when the feature, this particular issue, the null pointer, is happening when the feature gate is on for the static pod kubelet only mode.
You said it's on or off? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
On.
Yeah, okay.
So when it's on and you are in kubelet only mode and there is a static pod, I don't know what kind of manifest they used to which triggered this. And I added the checks that I've added here. These nil checks should take care of it, because I saw one path which was in existing code that I didn't really encounter ever before. So when we fill out in the resource config for pods, when we fill out the structure, depending on the kind of pod, if it's best effort, if it's burstable with CPU limits on CPU requests only specified, it may give out some null pointers, and we are accessing one of those. The call stack, the information in the call stack is not really helpful in telling which exact parameter was accessed there. We really need to know. I need a repro for this to be sure, but this should fix it. I think Jordan has a problem with the exclusion of static pods, and there are a couple of cases that I want to verify in there with when you update the manifest and then save it, we should be triggering a pod remove and new pod add for the standalone kubelet case, and for the one with API server as well. I'll make sure that I go through those 4 cases without using debugger this time, so that it's traditional verification.
I have a kind of a naive question about, in general, the static pods in general. Like, has anybody ever talked about a more general way of managing static pods, or a more like something like I don't want to say it, but a kubectl edit of a static of the actual static pods on the kubelet? Or
we can do that, yeah. Well, I used patch. Sorry.
Every time you say you want to allow this VPA working on this static pod, make me uncomfortable, I have to admit, because the problem is your source of the truth out the static pod, it is that file. So we actually discourage people using that feature. The reason it is really difficult to manage that. The kind of the problem, I still couldn't, otherwise I already approve your PR because I review, but I couldn't figure out for this standalone Kubernetes, how we are going to, because we are missing in the standalone Kubernetes cases, Kubernetes, that particularly currently not registered to the API server. So in the app, there's no mirror pod we created in the API server. So the pod administration is only at the node level defense. So this is really difficult for me to think about connect all the dots, how we are going to do this only node level of the defense to do the pod admission. So that's why kind of I read your fix and then go back to the original implementation, which is the hundreds of files. So I try to figure out how we are going to plan to support this static pods. And so this is why I haven't. So if we have the mirror pod, at least you could pod admission at the schedule level. You basically say, oh, kind of this is part of like already occupied resource, right? So you start the rest of stuff, the execution. But in here, you basically could be over committed on the node, only node level. But that's also so this is why I'm not sure, because remote controller can do better job here, and to adjust the static pod resource usage and then make decision at the only at the node level. So that's why kind of I'm still struggle. Otherwise, I already yes, I agree with you, Derek. This is why we talk about this many times. We want to use the reserve static pod for the bootstrapping scenario. So this is exactly what we are doing here. But if we allow this powerful feature, VPA feature, to dynamic update the static pods of the resource request, which is I have to think about more to make sure everything's coming. Because in the past, we did rule out. So that's why I'm okay with your current rule point fix. But the comment, what you comment say like this one will work with the static pod make me really nervous. So that's why I have tried to go back to the previous implementation.
I was thinking more from a use case perspective. Let's say you configure a static pod, some kind of a system critical pod, but it's over provisioned by a lot, and you want to have VPA manage that. Well, I'm not saying that we should do it for everything, but maybe for resources. And the right thing for now at this point to do is to block any updates to static pods, resources, or anything else. Anything else part of it is taken care of by a bug in the kubelet, which also
VPA should ignore mirror pods, and we should definitely ignore them on the qubit side. Like the VPA is not the source of truth. For static pod definitions, the node preparer is the source of truth. VPA is only in the business of things that are managed by a control plane. So what I'm wondering here is, like, is there a test scenario we're missing an EDE that would have captured the flow that Jordan identified? And then for these items where we get the null pointer in, maybe as a part of graduation of the feature, we enrich these missing EDE scenarios.
In the CI or in the CI, there is, I believe it's in the GK internal. I don't have access to that. I can't even see the logs to make more sense of it. I have what Jordan gives me in the bug. That's all.
Yeah, I'm just saying, as a part of graduation, it seems like we have a test gap in what we all see in community EDE, and maybe we just, for these items that are coming up late mode, we'll get the nil pointer merged, but follow-on work should probably be to enrich our EDEs where we're missing.
I follow up with this. I created this PR to introduce standalone mode tests in E2E node. Unfortunately, I didn't code this. I code another null pointer that Vinay also coded, and it's already fixed. But I didn't catch this one. And I wonder, like, I mean, we can add this one and start improving coverage for standalone mode and like documentation as well, because we like documentation. The question would be, is it okay level of technical depth that we like accepting feature in a milestone? So we have this one, we have a lot of follow-ups. Like I know there are at least few GitHub issues to follow up with more fixes. I'm trying to understand if this is one thing I reviewed though is that everything is protected by feature gate. So it feels like if we just disable feature gate, everything works as before. So I think this is a reasonably safe assumption, and I looked at code twice, so it should be fine. But my question would be, like this panic, we don't know how to reproduce, and it may resurface again, and we have other follow-ups. Are we comfortable with accepting this in a milestone, or we need to discuss reversing it back?
This particular fix or the entire VPA feature?
Feature. I just want to put it on the table, make a decision, and go forward. I
think it's safe. So I look at it from, okay, this is a fairly big feature, and this particular, the standalone kubelet case was kind of sitting in our blind spot. I'm sorry I knocked it over, but if I'd known, I would not have. It's an internal GK. I had no clue. It doesn't show up in any of our CI. I was watching CI and I didn't find anything, and I asked around, and Dims and somebody else mentioned, oh, sorry, we don't have any of these. And I don't feel that badly about it, frankly. Besides this, these two, I mean, it would be nice if we had not had this at all. But besides these two, I think it's pull and CI pretty much look unaffected. It's hard to say because there were quite a few CI that were running red. So when they do that, they mask potential issues that this might bring in, right? So
may I suggest this? This is just brainstorming. You have another API change proposed. Obviously, we want them all go together, right? So in this release, I mean, not the, they'll all go together this release. I even don't think we have the bandwidth to review that one before today's code freeze. Can you file the exception?
I will. I will. And for both these.
Yeah, just 1 minute. And also, can you file that extension? I think I will approve that extension. And so make sure, give us a little bit time to review your new API change. If we couldn't agree on the API change later, we have to revote all those things for this feature.
Yeah.
Right. I hopefully we could have all the fix for the panic. We try to merge your panic, but still connect the dots here. So you fix for standalone mode and other newer point things, and then try to allocate the time for your API change. Is that okay? So we basically still move forward. This is like brainstorming. Okay, please. Note this one. So then we still try to move forward with this feature as the alpha feature in the 1.27 because it's been so long, and also it's alpha feature and the feature gate and everywhere. Maybe we need to double check that one. But if we couldn't get the API change in, so obviously you also prefer so not partially API changes was in the 1.27, and then another API change in the 1.28. Right? So that's make feature use is so hard.
Well,
Don, I would really like to get this in this release. I'd like to move any mountain we can to make sure Tim gets a look at that API change that he personally requested. That's my understanding. Like I have trouble holding everyone else back on that one, I guess. With respect to like, I would really like a big +1 to if we can't get the exception process going, but the idea of reverting this and then putting it back actually is very probably personally painful for Vinay and personally painful for me, who spent a lot of time trying to review it. I'd rather be able to knock out where we have test gaps as we get this to beta. Like some of the cross-component integration flows that are being called out here, I find not surprising with an alpha level feature for any feature going forward. I'm actually surprised that this particular flow or this particular issue was even discovered.
But shouldn't directly what you said, what you proposed, and what I propose is pretty much same goal.
No, I know, I 100% don't agree on a goal. I just want to be real with everyone on like our emotional weight behind this, which is just like it would pain me on a personal level to see this come out.
Yes, and go also move forward. I don't want because I don't see the really convincing points. But the problem it is the API change. Actually, it is unknown to us, right? So at this moment. So unless you folks all think about, okay, we can pump that API change, the new API change to 1.28. Because I don't think about any current issue we find is the blocker. We need to revolt. This is what I earlier said, right? So, but the API change, this is why I asked Whitney, do you want this one in the 1.27? But then API change, actually, it is unknown to me. So that's why if we couldn't consensus on the API, I also don't want to rush. Just everybody say, okay, I don't care this API, then let's just move. This is kind of what I want to say here.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think Sergey has some context on that. He already discussed with Tim on renaming that particular variable, why we chose that, and really it's a pretty safe change. I don't know if we don't merge that in 127 and go to 128 and try to make that change, will we have to do a bunch of extra work for protobuf? That seems like, you know, an unnecessary headache to take on, given the nature of the change is pretty innocuous. It's just naming X to X bar. That's all it does. And of course, adding the defaulting, which Tim wanted. And all this came up in the last like a month or so. So this renaming thing, so it's pretty. We still have to update the CAP to like, fix the documentation in this case. I think I'll take an exception for both these issues. To give us more time, and I would like to see it. But yeah, it's okay with me if it doesn't make it. We'll figure it out. I think people have changed, renamed stuff after something has been shipped. Yes, it's probably a little bit more headache with protobuf naming. You may have to lose some number there and go for a newer. That's fine.
Yeah, and I think Tim approved the original PR because he's equally emotionally involved in this PR. So it feels like there are so many emotionally involved people. I just want to be level-headed and understand.
Yeah.
Are we putting amount of technical debt that we will accumulate behind in just executing?
No, I agree with that. My feelings aside, the way I look at it is this hurting more than it's helping? It's hurting a little bit on the blind spot scenario, that single mode standalone kubelet. But overall, I'm totally fine if we revert it. That's all I'm trying to say. I know you guys are not. It's too much. But if this is the way I look at it, if it is hurting more, we should revert it. That's how my answer will be, regardless of how much effort went into this.
So for this null pointer exception, do we set any expectations that test will be added, or do we want to reproduce it in-house with something like that, or we just saying that we will merge null pointer as we expect?
Yeah, I think I want to get someone who has knowledge of that the CI that Jordan has been using for what internal. If there is someone who has knowledge about that, what kind of manifests were used to produce this, take a look at this and see if we can reproduce that at least in-house, internally in Google. If we can reproduce it, that would be great. I have tried a bunch of things. I just need the manifest, and I don't know what it looks like.
I spend a lot of time on that. I will try to understand what's going on.
Yeah, so
even you cannot reproduce this problem, right? So with the standalone mode.
With local cluster, I'm not able to. I don't know how it is done internally in GK.
No, I'm asking Sergey, because Sergey said.
No, I haven't looked at specific manifest from Jordan. I try to reproduce with different like updating static pod and like creating static pod, this kind of things.
No, thank you for putting all that effort in. It doubles. It kind of confirms my own work.
Thanks, David. Also, David's offered to follow up on this one. So I review. Okay. I almost approve. It's just I try to connect all the dots, just like what I said. Why we are thinking about the VPA can work with the static part. So that's why I didn't prove, because I don't want to. So this is also I try to figure out why everyone cannot reproduce problem, because so this is so. I will follow up.
Yeah, let's hold on. Let's hold on that. I just want to get. I want to convince Jordan. We don't want to kind of, you know, push on that without his approval. I think last night what I did was I was using the debugger, so that's kind of a very it's not the way of verifying, but let me do a very formal way of like, okay, I'll do these scenarios. I'm gonna use this particular static pod or two different static pods, and then try with feature gate enable, disable, and post those, update those, and then see. I think the exclusion of static pods change is safe. It's a good change. I just have to convince Jordan about it. I don't know how maybe he's seeing something that I don't see. So I'll take a look. I'll take another look.
I don't think it's about whether he see something that we don't see. Just once it will be graduated, it needs to work. And if we don't have enough testing in alpha, we can start breaking people in beta. And since we discovered this in sidecar as well, like this change, it doesn't have any unit, even not a unit test. And like any change without test scares me, especially if it fixes some panic situation. Anyway,
in this case, we have we need a lot of. I think we definitely need E2E tests for this whole scenario, and we need to beef it up with unit tests.
So
I'll
end-to-end,
create a
I think we
separate
can
bug
continue
for
that. Okay, I'll suggest we go to the next topic. I want to bring on status of sidecar cap. I know there are a lot of interest, and we have a working group working on sidecars. There was some delays on sidecars because we sometimes struggle, like we needed to rework something after in-place update, and we also struggled with finding approvers for early pre-work PRs. But I think we just had a meeting today morning, and we had that's what we're missing. And I think everything we're missing, we can get done. So we'll have PR ready, and we have a very extensive end-to-end testing for this PR. The only question is, I thought that like freezes tomorrow, so I thought that maybe we have a chance if there is enough interest for sidecar cap to be merged in 127. So I wanted to bring it up. Like, is there any like if there is like immediate blocker, like it's definitely not gonna be in 127. I want to know if people believe that there is maybe a chance. Let's discuss and then let's see if we can merge it.
I have to admit there's no chance. At least from my perspective, I think that right now it's too late.
Okay.
Derek, how do you think?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know what the urgency of. Well, this isn't the cap. What is? You have a link to a pool that's not an enhancement.
Yeah, it's sidecar cap. It should have a link there.
Yeah, I mean, I would struggle with this one versus let's just deal with not last minute, particularly in light of just the prior conversations we had where we thought we had a lot of stuff going great, and I don't take on more.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think it's something that we can merge very early in 128 because we have all the ducks in a row. I hope it wouldn't be the same early in the milestone as in-place update.
Yeah, this should be a good lesson. Okay, merge such a big PR early.
He tried. Okay, Paco, do you want to talk about APR? Is Paco on the call?
Yes, I find Don has replied in the issue in the pull request, and this is a special sys control that changed. It was firstly not namespaced, and after since kernel 3.16. It changed to a namespaced one, and so after that, this would be a safe sys control. I'm not sure if this way would be accepted, as it is a little special.
So Paco, I agree, and I totally okay with this added safe. The only things I think someone proposed how to enforce that at the per version base, right? so I feel like that we haven't discussed that, and besides that, I'm totally okay. From the signal perspective, I'm totally okay. Because actually in-house, if I remember correctly, for the GKE, we already made that namespace. This one to make GK focus a while. This actually is already namespace, the internal. It's based on the kernel version. Yeah.
Do we know like how many distros are on an older kernel, or should we just make this change? I'm wondering whether it makes sense to check the kernel here, or because even like kernel version isn't guaranteed one, right? Like rel typically backports a lot of features.
Yeah. So there, so I think that I'm okay with this one, the safe, because if I remember correctly, a while back we did have the minimal kernel version is 3.18. This is a while back. We already in kind, but the only thing is I just haven't find. I didn't got time to find that change yet, and also I'm not sure we did enforce that because the huge code base, obviously we didn't enforce that. That is only in the system, some system level test invoked by the kube admin. So we did enforce that part. So but on other hand, do we need to check the kernel version here? I don't see that we check the kernel version. Do we want also is the question, right? So if would I say that we basically for the in the kube admin boot up the node, but many people don't use in kube admin, and that's also another thing. So actually we did the say check of the kernel version on that perspective. So I'm not sure, should we just make the document that more clear, or we just need to add the check? And another thing it is for Kubernetes version, we kind of suggest from the 1.27 and above, and we support this, right? So do we need to check that one there? Because I do see the Pyco add that check and then auto generate a lot of code. So I'm not sure. This part I'm not sure, but I'm totally okay with this is the safe. This cutoff.
Yeah, agree. I think because like on one hand we are adding features like username spaces that relies on latest kernel features, right? And we don't have any kernel checks here. And then this is looking for a 316 is fairly old now.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, I remember the 1.18 that time. We did have this talk. That's at least more than 2 years ago. Then everyone agreed that 3.18 back then already. So that's why I kind of feel this is super safe from our node perspective, resource management perspective.
Right.
Yeah, I just kernel check. Sorry, Derek, do you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say, like, it'd be nice if we, I think this has come up a couple other times, like if we document somewhere the minimum kernel version for various features. I don't think we have it very clear anywhere. So, Don, if you mentioned, like we said 3.18 somewhere before, I think if you can, we have a new pointer where that is, we can maybe make it more prominent so that we can use it.
PicoJS Finder. PicoJS help find that. That's exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah, that's thanks, Pico.
I see. Perfect. Okay.
So it sounds like nobody really objected this one, right? So I'm going to approve if we will. Yeah.
Will you remove the version check from this PR?
I think this PR didn't check kernel version at all. Only check of the our Kubernetes release version, right? Is that true?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Wait, let's just check. Yeah, it has this check for kernel version. Should we remove then?
I think the checks are fine. I mean, the danger on this one is remove a check. Like, I think this would be like someone runs on an old version of, I don't know, Fedora, Ubuntu or something, or RHEL 7, I think might be hit by this check. I wouldn't make anything drastic right now, but I think like as an action list, we should come out with like a go forward policy. But I tend to think 3.16 is old enough that I'm not too concerned on this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree, Derek. It's not concerning. We have so many features that require 4 and even 5 that it's not. This isn't a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my Red hat on right now and be like, if we had a min kernel version of 4.18, that would cover like our RHEL latest -1, which I think anybody who then would be following the RHEL family of derivative or Red Hat distros would be probably a decent policy. I don't know for the Ubuntu family or the Google OS families, but that's generally how I would look at it here.
Yeah, that sounds like a good number. I mean, if you wanted to go rootless, then you probably need 5, but
yeah,
5.15, I think. But that's 4.18 is fine as a base minimum. We should probably open an issue and do a survey on that.
Yeah, we're removing Raspberry Pi builds, right? ARM 32. So maybe the small devices will be affected, but we're already removing builds for them. So I don't know. Okay. Kevin, is Kevin on the call?
Hey, Kevin is not in the call, I believe, but I can speak for this item. Basically, is closely reviewing and monitoring this PR, and I also reviewed that and looks in good shape. Needs approval for the feature gates, so everything else, I think we can make it happen in meeting the standards and the timeline. So raise attention to the approvals for this. And actually, no, it's used to be, but it's not. Now reviewer, you have it. I think it more correct state is approver because of the feature.
Approver state. So if
sorry.
If you can LGTM, I will move it into needs approval.
Yeah, I will in literally a few minutes. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Is there any questions about that? I think Kev was approved, so it should be straightforward. Ravin?
Hey, folks. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out what the next steps for merging this node log query PR is. This was discussed end of Jan in this meeting. At the moment, Jordan wants more reviews from SIG Node to get this merged. And I did get it reviewed by Mrinal and Ryan Phillips. And for the Windows pieces, Mark Rossetti, who's in the meeting, also reviewed. But it's unclear to me at this point, what is Jordan's definition of, I need more in-depth review? I
feel like this is safe enough to merge, given that it requires a feature flag and then additional configuration to enable it even after the feature flag. I mean, and this is alpha. So I feel like we should be okay. And I just wanted Arvind to raise it here if folks think otherwise or have thoughts.
Yeah, I commented on the issue too, and I feel like this architecture is exactly what we discussed in the SIG architecture meeting with Jordan and Tim, and it seems like a lot of the concerns are how we're putting together the queries, but I feel like that shouldn't block an alpha implementation.
Yeah, I think the only Windows comment is outstanding, and that can be handled if we find a better way. I think on the Linux side, we introduced some code yesterday to make it more secure.
Yeah, in fact, that's general, Mrinal. Like even on the Windows side now, any services with certain, like you will not be able to add services with new line characters or with dots.
Okay.
And I've made it very conservative so that actually, even on the Linux side, there are valid service names that is going to get flagged. But given how worried Jordan is about this, I said, okay, I'm just going to be conservative about this. So I don't know what more I can do with that, trying to make sure that a service doesn't have an escape probability. This is almost like saying, I want this alpha feature to be merged without any bugs, which I'm not trying to introduce bugs, but I don't know at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's similar to the logic we were talking about earlier. I mean, these are alpha features, so like if they work and they're not obviously making things worse and they're doing what we agreed on, it seems like we should be able to short circuit some class of conversations like this.
So just to focus, like it looks like Mrinal, you gave a pretty good review, and Arvin, you made a number of updates. Like it's just a matter of Mrinal, you tag it. Like I trust your reviews, Mrinal, and so
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna tag it. I just want to make sure we have this discussion here, and we as a SIG are like okay with making calls like these, where there's some potential uncertainty, but it's behind a flag and it's alpha, so we can go ahead.
All right. Once you do that, Mrinal, I'll reach out to Jordan and on maybe API reviews or someplace like that, and ask him to approve. Thank you.
Sounds good.
And I'd be willing to file an exception for this if it doesn't merge today. So, SIG Windows. We've been waiting for this for a while.
Thanks, Mark.
Also, Mark, please help on the release API. Also, please on the API.
I started talking to Xander, the release lead, on Slack too, letting them know that this may be coming. So yeah.
Yeah, Mark, I'll bribe him with a beer at Flatstick Pub. You'll approve my exception, right, Mark?
It goes to the release lead, but I have some influence.
Oh, okay. You can be a supportive voice. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we discussed this one, and yeah, it's another one of those PRs when Kubelet became some monitoring agent rather than orchestrator. But I think this is where the root cause of Jordan complaints is. We're still struggling with CAdvisor port, CAdvisor metrics that we expose through Kubelet and trying to replicate them. Anyway, but yeah, we discussed it, and let's continue as we discussed. Next one, Mark.
Yeah, this is a very simple change. Some folks in SIG Windows were doing a lot of performance testing and found that by setting that perf counter update period for the Windows stat collector from 1 second to 10 seconds, you could kind of prevent a lot of extra CPU usage. So we tested this pretty thoroughly and didn't see any kind of downsides to going to 10 seconds. So we were just wondering if SIG Node had any concerns with this, and also we need approvals because it's in the kubelet. There's a lot more reports in the issue.
From my perspective, it should be SIG Windows responsibility to decide on that. But
yeah, we've discussed it in a couple of SIG Windows meetings, and I think James and Jay, some of the TLs all agree that this is probably the right thing to do.
I will take a final look, make sure that's not interfere with Linux nodes. That's all. Just like normally we are doing, right? So you folks are the expert on the Windows. We just make sure not to change Windows and also like the silent change Linux nodes. That's all, and I can approve this one. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
And with that, we get to the end of our agenda, and we have 5 more minutes. Is there anything else people want to talk about?
I just wanted to mention that I added a comment to the VPA panic bug based on our discussion, summarizing that we don't encourage manifest pod updates because the source of truth is going to be the file. And in light of that, the change that I made looks not only defensive, more correct.
Yeah.
Hopefully that captures it. Please add to it if I miss some point here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. With that, yeah, let's conclude the meeting. Bye-bye.
Wow.